room, doing our due diligence to get the right voices, to the table. And this is a
Rumor of apples are back again. I wouldn't get too excited.
series that spans over 30 years. So just by covering that much time, it took a lot of time for us to dig in and to kind of make sense of the story and to put this timeline together.
Yeah, and there's like some never before seen footage that I'm going to talk to you about in just a moment. But Curtis, people know about this very public, long and huge that you had with Sean Combs. So what brought you to this project?
Well, I just want to make really hit television. I like the idea of it being exciting, and I picked this project and started working on it about 5 months before I found Alex. And I know that if she has the artistic integrity that it would take to make it for the project, and there's the Quincy Jones era of production is find me that bass player because he's the baddest man out there in Chicago, and find me that keyboardist and fly them in from Miami, and we put them in and have the greatest jam session they ever heard, and it just always resulted in great and hit music. And I take that concept into television production.
You take that into everything you do, sir.
That's right.
You really do. And it really comes through, and appreciate that about you. As I said, never before seen footage of the days leading up to his arrest. Can you just talk a little bit about, was there anything that surprised you from that footage?
The footage, well, I mean, I think it's rare to find someone who's being, talked about all over the country. All eyes were on him, so to speak. And it was really interesting to see his last days of freedom, and what was sort of important to him. Obviously, there's phone calls with his attorneys, with his team. It was very interesting to watch a man who's known for his brand presence. He has a really amazing knack for marketing and all of that, and how he was sort of taking that into account and how he was coming off to the public, the days leading up to his arrest and indictment. So that was interesting. It was also just interesting to see how laid back he was at times. But the footage also, in the footage, we also see how he's getting incoming, lawsuits are dropping, and to get his real-time perspective on that was sort of jaw-dropping when we first got our eyes on the footage.
Was there anything that surprised you when you were watching the footage?
That didn't surprise me at all.
Because you've known him?
Yeah, those behaviors, and I think it was surprising that he actually filmed it.
Yeah, and I want to ask about that, because how did you go about getting the footage, and do you know the intent of the videographer, why this person took the footage?
She's a journalist, right?
Yeah.
So she's not going to reveal her sources, so you don't have to reveal that.
Not going to reveal my sources, but I think that partnering with someone like 50, it was very much in the universe as to what we were doing.
It's a lot easier to get it.
And you alluded to this, Alex, because watching the footage, and you're like, does he know he's on camera here? Like, he's going back and forth with his team a lot, and you could tell at one point he was wanting people to change their opinion of him, and he was very clear about it. Just, can you talk a little bit more about that part of the footage?
Yeah, I mean, I think that hopefully when you watch the film again, because it spans so much time, you understand that this is a man who's very comfortable in front of cameras. He was a reality star, and kind of at all points of his life, it seems as though he always had somebody following him with the camera. When you have that kind of power and everything, I'm going to edit this. So I'm going to have the luxury of being able to take out what I don't want and leave in what I want. And I think there's a line in the film in the last episode where he says, "Everything is about controlling your narrative." And that to me is the big takeaway of who Sean Combs is, or who he wants you to believe that he is. So it became very interesting to understand when was he, performing for the camera, and then when the moments in that footage where I feel like he was so preoccupied with what was actually happening in real life that he forgot that the cameras were there.
Because he was reaching out to people.
Absolutely.
He was reaching out to people saying,
Absolutely.
hey, I need some help here.
Yeah. And that's, I think when you hear about allegations in the news and when you hear about things that are going on, I think there was a lot of confusion, at that time as to what's real, what's not. And I think that, this is an opportunity for people to see what was really going on.
The exclusive video also shows Combs in Harlem greeting fans.
I need some hand sanitizer. I've been out in the streets amongst the people. Yeah, I gotta take a bath. Like the amount of people that actually I'm coming in contact with, like that's what I have to do. You know what I'm saying? Oh. It's like 150 hugs.
And you saw him going out and meeting his fans, and you're a public person as well. And there was one instance in Harlem, and his reaction when those people
Went away.
went away.
That was, it showed you his character.
Was that the reason for including it?
Yeah. I mean, and what's the odds that you would do that in front of a camera? Like that's one of the moments where he forgot he was on tape. You know what I'm saying? And then gets back in the car and goes, I feel dirty. I need to just go sanitize myself.
The 4-part series also features 2 jurors from Combs' trial who are speaking for the first time about how they reached their mixed verdict, finding Combs guilty of 2 prostitution offenses, but clear of racketeering and sex trafficking charges, both sharing their thoughts on the relationship between Combs and singer Cassie. Juror 75 describing them as 2 people in love, and Juror 160 saying in part, domestic violence wasn't one of the charges. All this had to be played out in front of a jury of his peers, and you included a couple of jurors. Was there something that stood out to you about how they perceived what happened in court and what they learned about him?
I think, the jurors felt that they did the right thing. I think that they were very comfortable in, the decisions that were made. But I think that the goal of what the film is trying to do is to let the audience kind of come in to ask questions like, in a trial where there's so much media coverage, before, during, and after, were their decisions, colored by certain things, and who got the benefit of the doubt, in that courtroom? And it seems as though Sean Combs received the benefit of the doubt.
It was really aggressive. Like the government came 3 different agencies at one time: Miami, LA, New York, raided all those places. You would think that something extreme had happened.
You guys heard from people or had people that the media, we asked, they were like, "I want to talk to us."
Yeah.
But sat down with you. Well, why do you think that was the case?
Me. It's a lot easier to do it because you feel like they know that I don't mind taking on responsibility. Like they're being the truth. He's not gonna be able to do like 50. We'll just let my story be my story, and not be afraid to change it.
But there are also some people that feel or want to know, how do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping. And it's not personal. This is why it never resulted in me doing anything to him or him doing anything to me.
And Cassie wasn't interviewed, but I mean, she's prominently figured in the series. Well, how did you want to portray?
completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean, or people that were, anti-Sean, or people that had grievances, with Sean. There are also people that are in the series that still consider him to be a friend, still consider him, to be like a family member. And I think for those people, when you ask, the reason for them wanting to sit down, I think obviously...
Have your eyes adjusted to the dark yet, Raider? Loot is ripe for the picking while most of Toledo is asleep. Though my suppliers say that ARC is twice as vigilant after sunset.
For them to really go into great details about their story and to be heard. There were lots of conversations before we even started rolling, tape. And I think that it became very obvious to most people that we were trying to just the highlights, the salacious details,
Let's go to the South Trench Tower. Yes! Hello?
Bye, bye, bye.
Hey there! Hello there! Hey, Raider! Hey, hello!
I'm doing this tonight. You're probably gonna start a fight.
Let's boogie.
I know this can't be right. Hey, baby.
Look at me going.
come on. I loved you endlessly, and you weren't there for me. So now it's time to leave and make it alone. I know that
Hello?
I can't take no more. It ain't no
Yes! Yes!
wanna see you out that door. Baby, bye, bye, bye. I don't wanna be a fool for you. Just another player in your game for two. You may hate me, but it ain't no lie. Baby, bye, bye, bye. I don't really wanna break it up. I just wanna tell you that I've had enough. Might sound crazy, but it ain't no lie. Baby, bye, bye, bye.
Check this out. Careful over there.
Just hit me with the truth now. Girl, you're more than welcome to. Give me one good reason, baby, come on. I live for you and me, and now I really come to see that life would be much better
Let's go.
once you're gone. I know that I can't take no more. It ain't no lie. I wanna see you out that door, baby, bye, bye. I don't wanna be a fool for you. Just another player in your game for two. You may hate me, but it ain't no lie, baby, bye, bye, bye. Don't really wanna make it tough.
The real goal was to storytell, and not everyone needed to have an allegation to be a part of this project. And I think that was what made people feel like this is a much more encompassing, project than just a series that's just based in allegation after allegation.
So let's talk a little bit more about Cassie. And is she a victim in all this?
I think she's a victim because she came in as she's like 18 or 19 in the very beginning, so she only knows that. So, over time and conditioning.
I think that without having an interview with her, I think that she was someone that was really important to bring up with other people that were witness or were around during her relationship with Sean Combs. I wanted her truth and her perspective to be, you know, a part of the fabric of the series. And as much as I could weave in, I think that it was really important to us to make sure that people remembered the age that she was and the context of where she was in life when she met Sean Combs. I think when you have a trial and you're talking about something that happened 15 or 20 years ago, you know, she's now a married woman, she's a mother, she's in a completely different place. I think that people forget, especially when it comes to women, like who they were when these allegations were formed. And I, you know, in that era and the middle of the show, we talk about Cassie, but we also talk about other, you know, women who were around his ecosystem, you know, making the band, and how these certain techniques that he would use, they weren't just used on Cassie. And that was important to highlight, you know, and every human being is going to take that type of incoming differently. She just so happened to get involved, and she got deeper and deeper into it. And I think that one thing that struck me, and it was something that I really wanted to make a bigger deal about in the series, which is that there was so much empathy given, you know, by the public for his kids. You know, they all went to the sentencing and spoke, his daughters, and there was a lot of conversation about, during the trial, what his daughters were hearing when Cassie was giving these very horrific details, right, of what was happening in the hotel rooms. I found it to be really interesting that the public gave so much grace to his children who were, you know, 18, 19 years old. And this is the same age that she was when she met him. Right. And at the end of the day, like, yeah, it's about Sean Combs, it's about Cassie, but what does this say about us as a public, as a community of people, when we lose the narrative and we can't even understand that, you know, what is our part of this story? And I think that's also kind of
Medical
a point
emergency number 6 paramedics needed.
Do you think that hip-hop culture was on trial as much as Sean Combs was?
Look, if I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as the hip-hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say, because that mind your business, or let me not say nothing about nothing. Those things, it would allow the entire culture to register as if they're for that behavior.
What's your intent?
I think the intention is to give a more full-bodied experience to what happened, you know, from the people that agreed to sit down and to participate. And I feel like the film asks a lot of questions, you know, maybe more questions are asked than answers given. And I think that it was important to both of us to preserve the culture of hip-hop, because I think all too often when projects like this are made, our culture is diminished, you know. This is a story that I think a lot of people want to kind of rain down on the culture of hip-hop as a whole, and they forget that these are the actions and the allegations of one man. Sean Combs has a lot of things that he's, you know, going to continue to have to work out, but he also contributed to the culture, and that was also important. So I hope that the takeaway is that sometimes things are, you know, it's more than meets the eye, and there's a lot of layers, there's a lot of nuance to stories, and I feel like we tried to put all those layers in as much as we could.
So what is your intent? What is your hope?
Well, I want to perform for it and people get a chance to enjoy it.
Do you think the jury got it right?
Well, yeah. I don't like to go against the system. I have faith in our judicial system. The only 2 years. I don't have fun.
Anybody else that you wanted to speak to?
Sean Combs. He's the missing ingredient, you know. I think that
Attention all.
another interesting thing about the series is
Avoid
that
shining
because of
light.
this footage that we have, and because of the incredible amount of archives, not just from the last days of, you know, leading up to his, the last days leading up to his arrest and the indictment, I do feel like there's a presence of him that happens throughout the series. Like you kind of feel like you're with him and you get to know his personality a little bit more than him just being, you know, in a documentary with photographs, you know, and you never really get to hear from him. But it was a holy grail for me from the very beginning to try and get him to sit because I have so many questions. I'd love to know more about the pockets of his, you know, upbringing. I'd love to know more about, you know, the school he attended. I'd love to know more about some of the closest friends that he had that were also a part of, you know, the creation of Bad Boy that he leaned on heavily. And I'd love to get just his perspective on, you know, at this moment, what was it all worth it? You know, like what would he potentially have done different?
If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like,
So the room is like the rest tomorrow, but keep open those just in case.
because you'll see people saying that. He may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but he knows the truth. I think he'll see the truth of it.
Some of these photos are really disturbing. We sent some out today.